Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Rebuilding Fulham, episode 6. Now first I'd like to take a minute to apologise for the lack of videos in the last week. This is because I have not been here to put the videos online because I've been on holiday. I am recording these videos on holiday, the ones you're seeing now, including this one, and quite a few other videos. As you'll see, there'll be a huge amount of videos going up on my channel this week, or next week from where I am now, but this week to you watching the video. But anyway, back to the actual story. And as you can see, we are into 14th place in the league. Now, it's not too far above the relegation zone. It's still only 6 points clear, but it's a good enough cushion for now. And the board are still on my back because we're not winning the league, which seems to be what they expected us to do. And with the squad we've got, we really should be doing a lot better. And we are only 8 points off the top, or off the playoffs, which is kind of the best I'm really hoping for at this stage. Because, no, I mean, the playoffs is where we have to aim. Well, we've got to aim for the top, but playoffs I'll settle for, provided we can actually try and navigate our way through them and actually get up in the end. So let's take a look at the fixtures that we had this month. After a disappointing last couple of games on last month, difficult away trip to Derby, which we lost, and a disappointing home 0-0 draw against Brighton, which was boring. We went straight back to poor form with the game against Wolves. It was a really, really tough game. In fact, I tried to set up with a more defensive system because I just wasn't sure that we'd be able to get anything from this game, and that's essentially what happened anyway. Wolves shot right out the traps with Dicko and then Sigurdarsson. I believe that's how it's pronounced. I really couldn't tell you. We did get a goal back through Thomas Draga again, getting yet another goal. He is really starting to turn up in form now, and although we've not been doing great, he has been still bagging us plenty of goals, which is positive. But in the second half, Wolves got themselves one more goal, and at this point, there was very little we could do. We did still control the possession, but as you can see, we only managed 5 shots and 2 of which were on target, so it was a tough one for us. The next game was, I was very disappointed in this. Bournemouth are bottom of the league, or they were at the time. I don't know if they still are, but a Scott Parker own goal caused us to lose at Bournemouth. We definitely had the better of the game, more possession, a lot more fouls. We created a lot of good chances too. These 5 shots pretty much were all 5 clear-cut chances that we had. In fact, I think we may have even had 6, but then missed one. So we really should have won this game. There was some very poor finishing from Ross McCormack up front, and even Thomas Draga couldn't save us this time. So that really did start to put us down the league. We did then manage to recover with a decent 1-0 win against Huddersfield, who again were struggling, but this game saw the return of Brian Ruiz, although I think he did play in the Bournemouth game, but he wasn't fully fit. Ruiz, after 3 months of being out through injury, is finally back, and as you can see, it was -2 at the Cottage for this game. A cold, windy afternoon. This is the middle of the day as well. Surprisingly cold. We didn't have a lot of possession in this game, but we still managed to grab ourselves a 1-0 win, probably slightly against the run of play, although we did have a lot more chances than Huddersfield, so maybe not so much. Which it got us back on track, and it got the ball off my back because they were really starting to gun for me at this point. You're getting the dreaded vote of confidence from former players and managers, not what I wanted to see. Thankfully, we had another home game straight afterwards against Millwall, which again, we were able to get ourselves a cheeky 1-0 win. Not the best performance by any stretch of the imagination, but Ross McCormack getting on the score sheet, and that's huge because he really does need some goals at this stage. In fact, he had a decent game all round, as you can see. I believe he was man of the match, and an 8.3. He didn't exactly put in too much effort. As you can see, he's still left with 80% of his stamina by the end of it, but he's still put in a decent shift, got us a goal, and that's the key here. And we managed to keep 2 clean sheets in a row, which was great to see. We then travelled to Portman Road to play Ipswich, and unfortunately we couldn't keep our winning run going. Away from home, we have really struggled. As you can see, Jesper Juhl scored, put Ipswich in front pretty much in the first minute. In fact, if I recall, it was literally straight from the kickoff. They dribbled down the pitch, put a cross in, and it just deflected it off of his head at the back post, which was really, really irritating. But we got our own back by getting an own goal of our own, and Ross McCormack also managed to net one for us. We were definitely not the better side in this game, but again, a point is good, and we're starting to get points in games we're playing badly in, and when we do play well, we're starting to get wins, or at least look a lot better, and that of course makes 3 games unbeaten and puts us up into 14th in the league. It's certainly not going to be signs of us achieving anything brilliant, at this stage, but at least we're still in touch, and maybe if we put a good run of form together, can get into the playoffs. It's just about getting that consistency. I'd like to see if we can string 3 or 4 wins together, or at least try and go a decent spell of the season now unbeaten, since we are learning the tactic a lot better. We've been alternating. In fact, I'll show you the tactics we've been using. The same tactic mainly, but we have been swapping out for this uber defense tactic. Hopefully in January, when we sign our 2 new players, which are Andrea Lucci and Alexander Gorgon, who we may as well just call Gorgonzola, because he might get us some pretty cheesy goals. Well, that's my hope anyway. That was a terrible joke, I apologise. But as you can see, Brian Ruiz is definitely still not fully fit, but this is probably because we've just played the game. He has looked pretty decent in the games, and I'm hoping that with him in the team we can really start to kick on. But we do have backup just in case, and Drago can play all across this entire midfield area, and he has been doing so because players have been dropping like flies. Adil Chihi's still getting injured in every other game, never for the long term, just out for a game or 2. In fact, sometimes he's back for the next game. It just seems to get injured and have to be substituted in almost every game. He is very injury prone, and that is something I'm going to have to look into because it's very annoying, and I may have to get a backup or just move him on and get some money for him because he's just not performing for us at the moment. Right, I think best thing we should do now is take a little look at some of the stats for the players and show you who's been performing and who hasn't, to see if we've actually got the filters on for the right team. Yes, we do, but we want to turn that one off. It always turns itself back on again. Very irritating. As you can see, the most appearances this year, Kirali and Jesper Julsgaard have pretty much played every single game for us. Although Julsgaard hasn't been great for us, he's given it a go, and he has gotten player of the match in 1 game, so that's good to see. Top scorer for us is Thomas Drager, our midfielder. Ross McCormack really does need to chip in with a few more goals, although he has at least got 5 assists to his name, so that is something. Most player of the match, Hutchinson, in the relatively few games he's played, and Dan Burn share that with 2, and McCormack also. I'm guessing that's in the few games that he has actually played really well for us. Top pass rate, it's hard to say. Mariga's been very good, and so has Parker. 80% plus for me is solid. One thing I do like to see is Parker putting in 5.41 tackles a game. That's great, and it shows he's still willing to get stuck in even at his age, although he has managed to get himself sent off along with the Morbietta. Our best overall rating, having played a few games, Kirali and Hutchinson, has actually been very good in the games that he's managed to play for us, so that is good. Now the other thing I wanted to do is take a little look at the injuries, just to show you if we even have any injuries. I'm not sure. I think we've got a couple. No, we are actually the only team in the entire league without a single player out injured, which is very rare for us, which might explain the upturn in our form as of late. So, there wasn't that many games in December, which is the problem, which is probably why this video is going to be slightly shorter than some of the others. However, as you can see from January rather, we have a lot of games, and more importantly, we have Arsenal in the FA Cup. It is at Craven Cottage. I'm really not expecting much from that game. If we can snatch a draw and maybe take a replay, maybe get some money in and get it on television, but really I don't think it's going to make much difference, and it's a shame because we were expected to get to the 5th round of the FA Cup, and this is a 3rd round tie, so that is not going to give the board any reason to be happy with me. But I'd like to think they'll understand that getting knocked out by Arsenal is not exactly a crying shame. Arsenal are sitting 3rd in the Premier League at the moment. We then have a very tough run of away games, which I'm hoping we can just scrape a couple of points from. But we shall have to see, and we will talk more about that in the next episode. Now, if you like what you see, please hit the like button, and if you like it even more than that, please hit the subscribe button. But until next time, bye-bye.